Okay, that was weird. Hey guys, today we are going to read Snowball, and this is a special video because I am reading it on Tuesday, and it is 10 in the morning, and because people are voting, and so guys, I can stay at home, and I can read because there's tons and tons of traffic. So guys, we are gonna start to read Snowball, the second book of the Puppy Place, but it does not matter what you read in order. So let's get started. Chapter 1. Dear Miss Peabody. Knock, knock. Now you say, who's there? Isabel. You say, Isabel who? Isabel Necessary on a bike. Charles laughed. He showed his letter to his best friend Sammy. Sammy sat next to him in Mr. Mason's class. Sammy laughed when he read Charles' letter, but he also raised his eyebrows and looked over at Mr. Mason. Charles guessed what Sammy meant. He crumpled up the piece of paper and stared over. It probably wasn't good to start a letter with a knock-knock joke, especially to a person he didn't even know. Mr. Mason was a good teacher, but he was pretty serious. He had been teaching about right ways and wrong ways to write a letter since everybody in room 2B had heard it over and over again. Say why you are writing the letter at the very beginning, said Mr. Mason, and make sure to let the reader know who you are. They had been writing letters for weeks, and Charles felt like he had already written 1,000 letters. Well, maybe 10, at least 5. There was the one to the President Charles. Asked himself about how he had named his dog. There was the one to Holly James, his favorite writer. Charles asked her where she got her ideas and if she had a dog. And there was the one to his parents. This letter explained all the reasons why Charles deserved a really, really good Christmas present this year, like a dog. Charles really loved dogs. Now he was supposed to be writing to Mrs. Peabody, who was going to become his grandbuddy. Every kid at Littleton Elementary was getting a grandbuddy soon. Each class was going to be visiting the Meadows, which was a place to be visiting where older people live, not sick old people like in a hospital. These old people lived in their own apartments and took care of themselves with a little help. But they might get a little lonely sometimes, and maybe their real grandchildren lived far away. That's where grandbuddies came in. Mr. Mason had given the kids in 2B a little bit of information about grandbuddies. Sammy's was named Mr. Munsell. Mr. Munsell had once been a pitcher in the minor leagues. Charles' information sheet said that Mrs. Peabody had been a librarian. That was okay, but not as exciting as a baseball player. Charles decided to start his letter over, trying to keep Mr. Mason's directions in mind. Tell your grandbuddy a little bit about yourself, Mr. Mason said. Your family, your likes and dislikes, your favorite food. And don't forget to ask your grandbuddy about himself or herself. 2. Have fun with it. Maybe Charles had been trying too hard with the fun part. Maybe Miss Peabody didn't even like knock-knock jokes. Dear Mrs. Peabody, hi, I am going to be your grandbuddy. My name is Charles Peterson. I am in 2nd grade. I have one older sister named Lizzie. She's in 4th grade. I also have one younger brother named Adam, but we call him the Bean. He's little. We adopted him when he was a baby. The Bean thinks he's a dog, and he likes to bark and drink from a bowl on the floor. My dad is a fireman, and my mom is a reporter. Charles stopped writing and thought for a moment. What else could he tell Mrs. Peabody about himself? Mr. Mason said that sharing likes and dislikes was a good way to get to know someone. My likes and dislikes are, I like dogs. I love them. A little while ago, my family got to be a foster family for a golden retriever puppy named Goldie. A foster family takes care of a puppy for a little while, and they help find really good forever home for the puppy too. Mom says our family isn't ready for a full-time dog, but she liked having Goldie even though she chews some stuff up. Goldie, not Mom. Anyway, it was the most fun ever except when he had to give her away. Goldie, not Mom. The the coolest thing is the home we found Goldie for. Goldie is with my best friend Sammy. He lives right next door, so I get to see her all the time. Charles thought for a minute. I also like knock-knock jokes. I'll tell you one when I meet you. Hint, it's about a dog. My dislikes not having a dog of my own. And mushrooms. My favorite food is spaghetti, but I don't like meatballs. If I had a dog, I would give him my meatballs. Charles put down his pencil and shook out his hands. He had been writing a lot. The letter was almost done, except he had forgotten to ask Mrs. Peabody about herself. He picked up his pencil. What about you? Do you have a dog? Your grandbuddy, Charles. Charles looked down at his paper. He had written much more than he had planned to, and a lot of it seems to be about dogs. Oh well, the bell had just rung. It was time to hand his letter tidy up his desk and line up by the door. When do you get to meet your grandbuddies, Lizzie and Charles and Sammy on their way home from school? It was snowing and Charles was trying to catch a snowflake on his tongue. On Monday, Sammy said. I'm going to bring Mr. Marcel a picture of Goldie and Rufus. Rufus was Sammy's other dog. Rufus was an older golden retriever and he loved having Goldie around. They were always chasing each other and stealing each other's toys. Hearing about the picture made Charles feel a little jealous. Why didn't he have a dog? He could bring a picture of Charles, Lizzie. Hop in. It was their dad, pulling up next to them in the Petersons' red pickup truck. He looked excited. Where are you going? Charles asked. Down to Olson's gas station. Dad answered. There's a puppy there. A puppy that needs a good foster home. Chapter 2. Another puppy, Lizzie asked. What kind? How old is it? Is it a girl or a boy? Can we keep it this time? Charles was so excited. He could hardly think straight. Dad just laughed. The sooner we get there, the sooner we'll know about this pup, he said. Let's go. You guys are so lucky, Sammy said. I wish I could come, but I have to go home and take care of Goldie and Rufus. Call me as soon as you get there home. I want to meet the new puppy. Charles and Lizzie climbed into the truck and fastened their seat belts. Okay, Dad, tell us everything you know, Lizzie demanded as they headed downtown. Also, does Mom know about the puppy? Is it okay with her? Charles wondering the same thing. Mom was not exactly a dog person. She thought they were a lot of trouble and mess. She had promised someday that someday never seemed to come. Charles, wait, Charles and Lizzie that they could get a dog someday, but that someday never seemed to come. Charles and Lizzie had felt really lucky that Mom had agreed to let them foster Goldie, the golden retriever puppy. Of course, they had hoped she would let them keep Goldie forever, but that had not happened. Maybe this time it would. Dad laughed again at Lizzie's question. Yep, Mom knows she's excited, so is the bean. He's been running around yelling, Uppy! Uppy! ever since he's heard us talking about a puppy. Then Dad got serious. Us talking about a puppy. Then Dad got serious. Mom did say to remind you that we're just fostering this puppy until we can find it a good home. So that answers one of your questions. Buddy, he said, looking at Charles in the rear view mirror. As for others, all I know is that somebody felt left. All I know is that somebody left the puppy in a box at Olsen's gas station. I guess they thought he'd know what to do with a dog. Since everybody knows Gunner was a Dalmatian and the fire department mascot, he belonged to Bruce Olsen, who was on the fire squad with Mr. Peterson. Gunner was so smart and brave. Once he had saved a little boy by pulling him out of a burning house. Charles thought Gunner was a real hero. But what breed is that puppy? Lizzie asked. But what breed is that puppy? Lizzie asked. Dad shook his head. Bruce Olsen said it was some sort of terrier. Lizzie groaned. Oh no, a little dog? She asked. Lizzie loved dogs as much as Charles, but not all dogs. She mostly liked big dogs, like golden retrievers and Labradors and Great Danes. She always said they were real dogs. They were dogs you could play with and throw sticks to and hug around the neck. Lizzie said that little dogs didn't count. Dad felt the same way. No such luck, he said as he pulled up at Littleton's main stoplight. I think Bruce said the dog was white and kind of fluffy. Lizzie rolled her eyes. White and fluffy sounds great, Charles said. It's probably really cute, right, and yappy too, said Lizzie. Oh well, it's still a puppy. This'll be great. Do we have enough food at home? What about a crate for it to sleep in? Where are the toys we got for Goldie? Mom's taking care of all that, Dad said. He's getting everything ready. He paused for a second. But we're not going straight home with the puppy. First, we're going to the vet. I already called and made an appointment. Mr. Olsen said the puppy looked like it needed some attention. He pulled the truck into Olsen's gas station, turned off the engine, and looked at Charles and Lizzie. This puppy will probably need some extra care. Are you two ready for that responsibility? Charles nodded hard. So did Lizzie. Dad smiled. I know you two can work hard when it comes to taking care of Puppy. You showed that when we had Goldie. Mom and I were proud of you. That part of why we decided to foster another puppy. Charles couldn't stand waiting another minute to see the new puppy. Can we see it now, please? Sure, Dad said. Mr. Olsen told me he'd be waiting for us in the garage. Charles opened the door, jumped out of the truck, and headed straight for the garage. Hey there, Charles, called a tall man in a blue coveralls. Bet you're here to buy some new snow tires. Mr. Olsen was always joking around. Charles shook his head. Oil change. Where's the puppy? Charles demanded. Usually, Charles loved to joke with Mr. Olsen, but today he was on a mission, a puppy mission. Mr. Olsen smiled. Right over here, he said, leading Charles to a quiet corner. Charles looked into the big dented cardboard box and saw two round black eyes looking back at him. Oh, he said softly. The puppy was white and fluffy. All right, but its coat was dirty. The matted in places. It was triangular ears, one that stood up and one that flopped over, and short little legs, and short little tail, and the cutest little face Charles had ever seen. He's a good boy, Mr. Olsen said. Hasn't even been crying. It's a boy, Charles told Lizzie, who had just joined him at the box. Lizzie peered down at the puppy. It's a Westie, and she pronounced after a moment. A what? Dad asked. Looking into the box, Lizzie knew all her dog breeds by heart. She had a poster in her room. She showed every kind of dog there was and told all about their personalities. Italy's, a West Highland White Terrier, Lizzie said. I was just reading about them. They're very smart and very energetic. Smart and very energetic. Dad looked doubtful. This one doesn't seem too peppy, he said. It was true. The puppy was sitting up, but it didn't seem excited to see new people. Its black eyes weren't shiny, and Charles could see that the inside of one of its ears was all red. It looks like it must hurt. The puppy gazed back. Looked like it must hurt. The puppy gazed back up at them and lifted one paw as if to say, Help me! The puppy felt so tired and hungry. Did these people have food? He couldn't remember the last time he had eaten. Charles felt his heart to go thump. In 1 second, he fell completely in love with the puppy. We have to get this little guy to the vet, he said. I think he's sick. Mr. Olsen helped Dad load the box into the backseat of the truck. Good luck, he said, and let me know how things turned out. Charles spent the whole drive to the vet staring at the quiet little puppy. He was dying to hold him, but he knew it was better not to take him out of the box until they get to the vet. Do you think he's going to be all right? Charles asked Dad. We'll know in a few minutes, Dad said. I'm sure Dr. Gibson will know just what to do. He pulled into a parking spot near a big old house with a barn. Dr. Kate Gibson, veterinarian, read a sign on the back door of the house. There were colorful Christmas lights strung along the porch. As soon as they rustled the box out of the truck, a tall woman with a long blonde braid came out of the door. I'm Katie Gibson, she said. You must be the Petersons. Let me give you a hand with the pup. Charles was glad to see the vet. He was so worried about the sick puppy. He hoped the vet could help. Chapter 3. Well, 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 said, wait, let me see if I didn't skip. Yep, I didn't. Well, 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 said Dr. Gibson. Once they had brought the box into her office. What do we have here? She smiled at Lizzie and Charles as she rolled up the sleeves of her flannel shirt. Then she reached into the box and gently lifted the puppy out. Hello, little sweetie, she said as she settled him down onto a soft, thick blanket. She laid on her table. The puppy liked the woman's soft touch and soft voice. Maybe this person would give him some food. Charles bit his lip. The puppy looked so sick. He wasn't frisky and happy the way Goldie had been. It just sat there, looking up at Dr. Gibson with sad eyes. Is he going to be okay? Charles asked. Why is he so quiet? Dr. Gibson smiled. I think he will be fine, she said. He's just underfed and a little dehydrated. That means he hasn't had enough to drink lately, so his body really needs water. Also, he probably has worms. Lots of puppies do. See how his belly sticks out? Even though the rest of him is kind of skinny. The doctor pointed to the puppy's tummy. That's a sure sign he has worms. No big deal. We'll just give him a couple of pills for that, and he'll be better soon, very soon. As she talked, she was running her hands over the puppy. Worms? Lizzie asked. Gross! Charles thought it was gross too, but he also knew things that were just part of having a dog. This puppy will perk up fast, Dr. Gibson said. Westies are pretty energetic. Little dogs when they're healthy. I knew it was a Westie, Lizzie said. Good for you, said Dr. Gibson. You must really know your dog breeds. Lizzie beams. I can't imagine why anyone wouldn't want such a sweet puppy, Mr. Peterson said. There wasn't any note or anything. Dr. Gibson shook her head. It's such a shame, she said. I suppose somebody just felt they couldn't take care of him, so they left him at a gas station, Lizzie said. She looked so mad. They should have brought him to the animal shelter at least. Charles knew that the shelter was a good place where the dogs and cats could stay until they found good homes. It wasn't as nice as staying with a family, but at least it was a safe place. You're right, said Dr. Gibson. But maybe they did the best they could. Anyway, he'll be taken care of from now. I can't see that. We're just his foster family, Lizzie explains. Once He's all well. He'll be looking for a good home for him. I'll let you know if I hear of one, said the vet. He should be ready to go to a new home within a couple of weeks. Charles didn't say anything. How could Lizzie be so ready to give this dog up? His fur was so soft, and his eyes were so black. Charles couldn't believe how cute the puppy was. He looked just like a stuffed toy. Only he was really, even if he was only going to be a foster puppy, not a forever dog. Charles hoped they could keep him until the end of Christmas vacation. Once he got better, he would be so much fun to play with. We'll give him some shots too, said Dr. Gibson, just to make sure he's covered. I'd say he's about 12 weeks old, which means he's due for the final puppy shots. Now she was looking into the puppy's cute pointed ears and checking inside his mouth. He has a little ear infection. I'll give you some medicine for that. But he really looks like a fine pup. Just as she said that, the puppy seemed to perk up a bit. He nuzzled her hand and licked it up a bit. That's the boy, said Dr. Gibson, laughing. Does that mean you're ready for your shots? She turned to Charles. How about if you hold him while I get everything ready? Really? Charles stepped forward, and Dr. Gibson picked up the puppy and put him into Charles' arms. If you snuggle with him and distract him, he probably won't even feel the shot, she said. Charles held the puppy carefully. It's okay, little guy, he whispered as he stroked his fluffy white ear fur. We're going to take good care of you. Lizzie patted the dog too. He looked up at both of them with trusting eyes. Then he licked Charles on the cheek, and Charles could smell his sweet puppy breath. There, all done, said Dr. Gibson. Charles had hardly noticed her giving the shot, and the puppy hadn't noticed at all. Let's give him some food and water. If he eats okay, you can take him home tonight. Otherwise, I'll have to keep him here. A few minutes later, Charles held his breath as the vet put the puppy down on the floor next to food and water and had prepared. Would he eat? Finally, food! The puppy wondered why it had taken these people so long to figure out what he needed. The puppy went straight for the food. In fact, he walked right into the dish and put his whole face into it. After he had eaten every speck of his dinner, he licked off his paws and his whiskers. Then he waded into the water dish and took a big long drink. He sneezed when he was finished. Everybody laughed. I think you can take this guy home, Dr. Gibson said to Mr. Peterson. She told them to give him some more water and some food when they got home. Not a lot to start, but plenty of small meals. And see how he did? He said they might be surprised at how quickly he improved with a little care. If you have any questions of concerns, you can call me anytime. she finished. Sounds great, said Dad. Can we give him a bath? Lizzie asked. He looks so grungy. I think that should wait for a day or two, said Dr. Gibson. But as soon as he seems a little livelier, a bath would be an excellent idea. Thanks, Dr. Gibson, said Charles as she helped him put the puppy back into the box for the ride home. My pleasure, she said, reaching in to give him the pup one more pat. When they got home, Charles helped his dad carry the box into the kitchen. Uppy! Yelled the bean when he saw them come in. Better hold him, Mom, said Lizzie. Dr. Gibson says some terrier puppies take a while to get used to younger kids. Anyway, this puppy needs to get better before he'll want to play. The puppy surprised them all. As soon as they put down the box, he tried to climb out with a little whimper. He wriggled and squirmed and pawed at the sides of his box. Then Charles picked him up and put him on the floor. Wow, he's feeling better already, Charles began. He watched happily as the little pup began to roam all over the kitchen, acting if he belonged there. Then the puppy plopped down on his little behinds and looked up at them expectantly. He gave a couple of bossy little barks. The puppy wanted the people to know it was time for more food. After he ate, he would explore some more. He thought this place was interesting. He was going to enjoy being in charge of it. Chapter 4, guys. So we are going to end that right there. And so, guys, bye!